So now we have braking regen as well as coasting regen completely turned up. So we'll see how this feels during the upcoming first-person riding footage. You can definitely feel that this bike is more peppy than the previous generation. This cadence sensor is different. Aventon decided to switch things up. On your left here. All right, in turbo. This is the Aventon Level 4 Rec, and don't worry if you don't know what Rec means in relation to the rest of their lineup. I'll explain everything. This is Aventon's 4th generation commuter e-bike, and clearly they've been paying attention to the competition because we now have a 750 watt motor that peaks at 1188 watts and in boost mode goes up to 1440 watts. We'll be surely putting that to the test. And while technically this is the new base model, if you will, of the Level series, it still has a ton of features, including new ones like hold mode, remote notifications, and ones that made it in from the previous generation. It even has what I'm calling a throwback feature, regenerative braking. I haven't had regenerative braking on an e-bike since 2018. So, in this full review, I'll walk you through everything you need to know step by step. Then we'll take it for a ride, see how that new motor actually performs, and then I'll wrap things up with the pros and cons. But first, let's take a closer look. Clearly, the Level has been around for some time, now in its 4th generation, which is hard for me to believe. Current pricing is $19.99, though you can find up-to-date pricing down in the description. Also, if you use our link or scan the QR code on your screen now before you buy, it supports us at no additional cost to you. Also worth mentioning, Aventon has over 1,800 plus dealerships, and don't worry, if you buy in store, you can still help us out. Simply email me your receipt, ryan@ebikeescape.com. Thank you so much for your support. I should also mention, if you're looking for a more premium ride, Aventon also dropped the Level 4 ADV. You can check out our review of that e-bike. You get a mid-drive motor, more premium components, automatic shifting, and yes, you can still get that throttle, but this video is all about the more budget-minded Aventon Level 4 Rec. Let's dive into sizing and frame options. The Level 4 Rec is offered in 2 different sizes, regular and large, and 2 frame options, step through and high step, accommodating riders all the way down to 4'11" up to 6'4". This is the size large step through, and I'm 6 feet tall. My wife is 5'5". She's still fit. Color options on the step through include Glacier Mint or Sandstone. On the high step, Matte Black or Matte Storm Blue. The bike weighs in at 68.5 pounds. Total payload capacity is 300 pounds. For sure, one of the biggest deals with this update is the new motor. 750 watts nominal, 1188 watts of peak power, but in boost mode you can get up to 1440 watts. And even more, the motor is engaged with either the cadence or the torque sensor, your choice. Powering that motor is a 36 volt, 20 amp hour battery. It's keyless, which means I need to use the controls in order to release it. We'll scroll down to battery lock and unlock it. So the battery will partially release and then push on the handle to fully release it. Here's that handle that I was talking about, super convenient. The battery itself is certified to UL2271. The entire bike's electronics are certified to UL2849. Charger port is the same whether it's in the bike or out, right here. You can get an idea of the current charge level by pushing this button right here. And it comes with a 4 amp charger, so 5 hours to charge it up from empty. Aventon also includes some bike grease as well as a multi-tool, which is nice. To put the battery back in, terminals first, and snap into place. Let's jump into the rest of the components. For stopping power, you have 2-piston Tektro hydraulic disc brakes paired with 180mm rotors front and rear. And don't worry, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Tires are 27.5 by 2.2 inches wide. Nice reflective sidewall, street tread. These are the Kenda Quick 7 tires. We talk about a lot of accessories on the channel, but one that I use all the time that I don't talk about a lot is our pump. It's available at shop.ebikeescape.com. And what I really love about it is you simply screw it onto the Schrader valve, Set your pressure, hit the power button, and it automatically turns off. If you haven't already, check out this and our other high-quality e-bike accessories available at shop.ebikeescape.com. Your purchase really helps us out, so thanks. The front wheel attaches with a through axle. There's an 80mm travel front suspension fork from Trauma. Preload adjustment on the left, lockout on the right. You get full fenders, nice for commuting front and rear. Note no mounting points on the head tube for a front basket. Nice cable management though, and if you're assembling this yourself, don't forget to attach this piece like I did at first. The light attaches to the stem, runs off the main battery, and in the rear there's running lights as well as turn signals. Moving to the handlebars, you have ergonomic locking rubber grips, matching Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers with motor cutoffs, a left-hand thumb throttle, and on the right side, Shimano's 8-speed trigger shifter. The stem is adjustable so you can raise the handlebars up for a more comfortable riding position if you'd like. Moving on to the new controls and display. First off, a USB-C port located beneath the display for charging your device. Power button in the center. We have current time, battery capacity, bars for the motor and rider power, speed front and center, pedal assist levels off, eco, sport, turbo, and finally boost. You can turn the lights on by holding pedal assist up, indicator at the top of the screen. Hold pedal assist down to engage walk mode. But there's also hold mode. The way you do that is hold pedal assist down. When you see walk, let go of the down button and it will hold the bike. I literally can't move this bike backwards. We have turn signals, left and right. On the bottom of the screen, you can get additional information by hitting the power button. First, we have odometer and estimated range, which does change depending on your pedal assist level. Over to rider power and rider torque, motor power and motor torque, speed and cadence, odometer time and odometer distance, trip time and trip distance, odometer max speed and trip max speed, and finally back to the home screen. To get into the advanced settings, hold pedal assist up and down at the same time. First, we have Connect app. I'll come back to that. Then we have connection. Next is battery lock. Yes, this bike is keyless, so you use this to remove your battery. Hit the power button, and then hit the power button again, and that will unlock it. Next is bike lock. Hit the power button. That will lock your bike, and it will not be able to move. So moving the bike forward and back does absolutely nothing. Someone would literally have to carry this bike away. You can clear your trip. Set a password, and you use this using the pedal assist up and down and the arrows. We have display unit, auto power off, screen brightness. You can set it to auto or just max it out. Error history, and that's it. Let's connect this bike to my app. Within the Aventon app, I'll make sure I'm on the Me tab. I'll tap pair. I have the QR code on my screen here. We'll call it the e-bike escape level 4 rec. Hit pair. Register my bike. All right, and I already have a pop-up telling me what I think is perhaps one of the most important things within the Aventon app, and that is that I have to update it. So let's tap later. I'll do it at the end once I walk through everything I think is important here. So first off, I can activate the IoT service. It's free for a year, but only $20 per year after that. It offers great peace of mind. I'll tap activate. On the main screen, I can easily lock or unlock my bike, but you'll want to spend some time within the settings, and perhaps most importantly in Ride Assist. So I'll tap Ride Tune here. This gives you full control over every pedal assist level. So within Eco, Sport, and Turbo, I can adjust the max torque, the assistance, and pedal response, and it gives me a nice experience triangle depending on what I select. We'll leave those stock, though for Turbo, I'm going to crank it all the way up for the first-person riding footage. You can also view these assistance and pedal response graphs. We'll apply this to e-bike. We do already have boost mode turned on. So now we have braking regen as well as coasting regen completely turned up. So we'll see how this feels during the upcoming first-person riding footage. Here I can also switch between the torque or the cadence sensor. Note that the custom settings in Ride Tune do not apply to cadence mode. And I can change this speed limit all the way up to 28 miles per hour. Let's do that now. Let's talk about the security and anti-theft features. So I can turn the alarm on and off. I can have it automatically lock when the bike is powered off. That's cool. Set security verification. turn on and off unusual activity detection. That will actually send a notification to my phone to let me know that someone's messing around with my bike. You can set your password here as well. Then there's geofencing. So I can actually restrict certain areas if I want to, and there's different shapes, you can pull them out, or I can actually allow certain areas. So this is how this looks. Maybe I only want this bike to be ridden in Bentonville. A new feature I haven't played around with yet is bike sharing. You can add other members to your account. And then there's system and maintenance. There's tons of information about the battery, the number of charge cycles. This is where you can update the firmware. If you do nothing else with your Aventon e-bike, make sure the firmware is up to date. They also have a transport mode as well. Other things within the app, you can view your rides over days, months, and years. I have multiple bikes now connected to my account, and I've been riding a lot, so I have a lot tracked by the bike and the phone. But the way you track a ride is just simply hit go and then tap the start button. There's also a Discover tab. You can see what other Aventon riders are doing. And within the Me tab, you can view the medals that you've earned. Since I've been riding, I've been earning quite a bit of these recently, actually. And here you can access service and support options, as well as quick access to a number of features. All right, I'm going to go ahead and update my bike, but that's it for the display, app, and the controls. There's 2 mounting points on the down tube for a water bottle cage, plastic pedals. There's where all the smarts of this e-bike are. It's called Aventon's ACU, rear-mounted kickstand, an included rear rack with a 59-pound capacity, pannier hangers on the side, Aventon's sleek saddle, and it is a suspension Seatpost. The derailleur is Shimano Altus. Again, 8 speeds, 12 to 32 teeth in the rear. And up front, a single-sided 48 tooth chainring. Nice chainstay protector. With that, I can't wait to see how this motor performs and see how the regenerative braking works. Let's get into some first-person riding footage. All right, we are going to start with throttle only, and then I'll get to the hill climb and regenerative braking and coasting. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, throttle only. 800 watts, 900 watts, close to 1,000, and there's 20 miles an hour. You can definitely feel that this bike is more peppy than the previous generation. Off the line, the acceleration is much more noticeable. All right, now let's go through the various pedal assist levels. We are going to start with the cadence sensor, and this cadence sensor is different. Aventon decided to switch things up. Normally, when I talk about a cadence sensor, it's like an on-off switch. As long as you're pedaling, you're going to get power from the motor, depending on what pedal assist level you're in. Now, that is true on this bike, but only to a certain extent, because the way Aventon has done this cadence sensor is actually the faster you pedal, you'll get more power from the motor. So it's slightly different than most other electric bikes with a cadence sensor. And just to note, all of those ride tune settings only apply to the torque sensor. They do not apply to the cadence sensor. So keep that in mind. All right, so in Eco now, second gear. So basically not providing any power to the pedals. And I'm getting close to 300 watts, going about 14 miles an hour. So what's interesting, just to demonstrate, if I pedal faster, I will actually get more power from the motor, and 20 miles per hour in Eco is pretty crazy. But what's kind of interesting is if I shift up, let's say into 6th gear, maybe even 7th gear here. So because the cadence sensor is actually responding to how fast I'm pedaling, inherently I have a slower cadence in 7th gear. And so just gently spinning my legs, I'm going at 15 miles an hour using about 200 watts. So yes, if I put in more power, but it's really about my legs spinning more, I will get more power from the motor. So it's actually kind of easier to get more power from the motor in the cadence sensor in the lower gears. So something to keep in mind. Let's go into sport though. Remember, that's of 3 pedal assist levels, and then you get boost, the bonus, which is just a temporary boost of power. 20 miles an hour, easy, 700 watts. And again, I can shift down, spin my legs faster, and get more power. There's 22. So a lot of power from this cadence sensor. Let's go into turbo. Got a big group of people here. So just barely spinning my legs. On your left here. All right, in turbo, passing that group, 27 miles an hour. I'm not even in boost. All right, still in turbo here. Let's see if we can hit 28. Over 1,000 watts. There's 28 miles an hour. Let's try a boost. See what the peak power is. Shift up to 7th gear. All right, just shy of 1,300 watts. Yeah, definitely getting more wattage from the motor in boost. So that is the Cadence sensor. Still operates similar to many Cadence sensor, though just slightly different with the faster you pedal. All right, next, the torque sensor. I have it in Eco. So remember, a torque sensor, it will measure how much power I'm putting into the pedals and reward me for it, though still depending on the pedal assist level. So more power in the higher pedal assist levels, more power more easily, that is. All right, so in Eco, first gear, nice and easy, just getting 50 watts and cruising at 8 miles an hour. So a stark difference compared to the Cadence sensor. Let's shift up into 3rd gear. So nice and easy, 10 miles an hour, and then a little bit more power here. Now we're getting closer to 200 watts, around 150 depending. So with slightly more power, you're going 14 miles an hour in Eco. Let's go into Sport though. We do have some headwind. Comfortably cruising at 13 miles an hour, 14, so a little bit faster than Eco. And then a little bit more power from my legs. 4th gear, getting closer to 300 watts and 20 miles per hour. So there's 17. Shift up to 5th gear. All right, let's leave it in Sport and see if I can get into the 20s with a lot more effort. I'm getting close to 1,000 watts there. So 24 miles an hour, 25. Still something I could do for a long time, but certainly more effort than before. All right, let's go into turbo. Let's see what the cruising speed is. So we are in 6th gear. So now you can cruise closer to 20 miles per hour very easily. And then a little bit more power. We're definitely gonna get into the 20s. Let's shift up to 7th gear. Remember, that's of 8. 25, very easy. 26, and getting about 400 watts. A little bit more power from my legs. There's 27 and 28 miles an hour. So yeah, much easier to hit 28 miles per hour thanks to the more powerful motor. And then of course you have boost mode. Let's just test that out. There's boost. All right, I'm seeing 1,000 watts and I didn't even start putting in a lot of power into my legs. 6th gear, 1,200 watts. Of course we're going against the wind now. Consistent 900 watts. So the wind was preventing us from hitting the top speed as we were going against the wind. But it was much more easy to maintain the high wattage for the temporary time you can actually use boost. And just to compare to the torque sensor, very responsive. Like as soon as you start pedaling, you feel that motor engaging. All right, with that, let's get to our hill climb test. Can't wait to see what this motor can do. Let's get into our hill climb / regenerative coasting and regenerative braking test. Our first test will be throttle alone. This hill is very steep. The GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is. And we will see what the minimum speed is. And it will be interesting to compare this to other recent reviews from other electric bikes. 13 miles an hour, getting 900 watts of power. It went as high as 1,000 watts, holding me at 13 miles an hour, 12. Just for a second though. All right, and we made it to the top. That is showing Aventon's change to a more powerful motor on the Level 4. All right, let's talk about regenerative coasting. So I turned coasting all the way up and I turned the regenerative braking off for now as I go down this hill because I kind of wanted to isolate regenerative coasting versus braking. So even before the steep section, I can see the bar on the display. I am getting more battery power as the hill gets steeper and I start going faster. That bar is getting maxed out. And yeah, it's just pegged now. And then it went back down. So I wonder if there is a speed that you kind of go past that the motor is no longer kind of putting power back into the battery. That's super interesting. All right, next, let's do the hill while pedaling. I will leave it in the torque sensor and we'll see if I need to change it. So in Eco, first gear, let's see how much power I'm getting. Just shy of 200 watts. I could do this. My legs would feel it at the top. I wouldn't be winded, but only going 5 miles an hour. Let's go into sport. Tiny bit of relief there. Now getting closer to a 250 watts. But again, still a decent amount of effort from my legs. Let's jump into turbo. Okay, now getting 350 watts. Speed crept up a little bit. I could do this nice and easy, not getting close to the max wattage of the motor. Of course, I would need to put in a little bit more power, which I can. I can get around 500 watts without too much effort. There's 9 miles per hour. So yeah, I don't think you would necessarily need to switch to the cadence sensor. As long as you can keep your legs moving in turbo, you can get a decent amount of power. And then maybe you reserve boost for your hills, knowing that there's a cooldown. Now I turned coasting regen off, braking regen all the way up. So now when I stop pedaling, there's no additional power going into the battery, but when I hit the brakes, there is. And there's kind of this space with the levers before you fully engage the pads, I'd say. I mean, I think they're engaged slightly, where I can tell that power is going into the battery because I see it on the display here, and it's close to maxed out. Granted, this is a large hill, and so you need to be able to, I guess, if you're hypermiling, maybe you need to modulate the levers a little bit. Maybe it's something you get used to. I mean, still, even if I come to an abrupt stop, you can see that there is power going into the battery, but you can kind of optimize it for a little bit longer if you want to, I guess. So that is regenerative coasting and braking. And while it's not going to add a ton of range, I mean, I am happy that Aventon is including some cool features like that. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage. I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Aventon Level 4 Rec. Aventon's Level 4 Rec is a clear answer to riders who really focus on specs. In this case, motor specs. Sure, there are some other cool additions here, but that step up to the new 750 watt motor is the big one. And hey, I still think most people tend to overbuy when it comes to motor power, but on the other hand, it's always good to know you have the muscle there when you need it. It's never fun to see a $100 price bump, but to be honest, Aventon includes so many integrated tech features in this e-bike that you really can't complain too much about the $19.99 price point. Pair that with their massive bike shop network and there's a lot to like. Honestly, all of these fancy extra features are exactly what's allowing Aventon to pull away from the smaller brands. You're unquestionably getting more, and the number of those features add up quite quickly. Let's start with the pros. First off, the motor power didn't disappoint, and in my opinion, the 36-volt system is still plenty of power for this application. It's a welcome upgrade to the Level 3, and though it's supposed to be quieter, accelerate faster, and offer better hill performance, what really stands out to me is how easily you can hit those high speeds. If you're a high-speed commuter or cruiser, you'll be in your element. The torque sensor paired with Ride Tune is fantastic. Turbo allows you to confidently cruise into the 20s, while Eco provides a nice gentle boost. However, I'm not exactly sold on the cadence sensor option. In my opinion, it just gave a bit too much power even in Eco, and since Ride Tune doesn't impact the cadence sensor, there's no way to customize that curve, at least not yet. So my recommendation, just stick with the torque sensor because it's great. The 20 amp hour battery is slightly above average, and that 75-mile advertised range should be easily doable if you stay in eco. Expect about half of that if you're cruising at high speeds with heavy throttle usage, but the regenerative braking is only going to help increase your range. A note on that, with regenerative coasting cranked all the way up, it is noticeable. If you're paying attention, you will notice the motor slowing you down faster than if you were just coasting without regenerative braking. But if you're pedaling most of the time anyway and only coasting when you want to slow down, it's nice to recapture that energy, especially when bombing down hills. Personally, I'd leave the braking regen turned all the way up and decide what you like with the regenerative coasting. It's one of those features I might not pay extra for as a standalone upgrade, but I'm definitely happy to see it included. Moving to more tech, I have to highlight my favorite features, starting with Aventon's new display. It feels more modern, snappy, and easy to navigate, also easy to read, so it's great to see the center mount display getting some love. I'm also a huge fan of being able to keep tabs on the bike via the 4G data plan. Features like the locking rear wheel might be fine on their own if you live in a safe area like I do, giving you that additional peace of mind knowing someone can't physically ride your bike away. But of course, I still recommend pairing it with a solid physical lock for maximum security. Aventon also has most riders covered with 2 frame sizes plus step through and high step options. While basic, the included suspension Seatpost does add some comfort, though the saddle definitely leans into commuter vibes rather than pure plush comfort. The adjustable stem lets you dial in the cockpit, but keep in mind this is still a more active riding position compared to something like the Aventon Pace. Now for a few changes I'd like to see. The Level 4 rack absolutely feels like a premium ride, but the front suspension fork still is fairly basic. I'd love to see Aventon step that component up in the future. Also, a quick note on the charger port location. It's just a bit tricky to reach under the frame to plug it in. That might matter to some more than others. The solution for some might just be removing the battery entirely for easy charging. As for the motor, the throttle is incredibly punchy now, and I'd really like to see Aventon update the app to let you customize the throttle power to how you want, just like you can do with Ride Tune and the pedal assist levels. Boost mode, at least how it currently stands, has a cooldown of 300 seconds, so just know you get around 30 seconds of max power until you have to wait again for it to reset. Finally, at 68.5 pounds, it is on the heavier side, which is something to be mindful of if that might be a consideration for you. Remember, if you plan to pick up an Aventon, do me one huge favor and use our link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen before you buy. And if you buy in store at one of their dealers, you can still support the channel for free by emailing your receipt to ryan@ebikeescape.com. Thank you so much for your support. The Level 4 Rec successfully builds on Aventon's legacy as one of the best-selling and still one of my personal favorite commuter e-bikes. Most riders will appreciate that the motor specs are now fully on par with much of their competition. Plus, we got some great surprises. I'm excited to see regenerative braking make its way to the rest of the lineup. Hopefully that happens. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.